Not half popping at all right. It's Friday. We know what that means. It's a little bit of showbiz, all right. Um, Hello, everybody. I was so lucky to work with Fluff. I'm Russ Kane. Welcome to the Midday Show. It is Friday the something or other. What is it? 7th of February. So the next nightmare is Valentine's Day, which is I just ignore because I'm not going to get them all. Chrissy Richards coming in straight out of the traps there on the sheepskin noseband of the colours of Her Majesty the Queen is Chrissy Richards there on the far side. Hello all the way from Spain. Right, you know him. You love him because Friday, every other Friday means theatre. This is a man who you could send off to the bar. He will come back with the perfect gin and tonic. Get to the front of the queue like that because he is one of the UK's leading theatre critics. Well, he is now because I've said so. Jonathan Baz.
Russ, good.
Yes, that'll be
afternoon.
me. Good afternoon to you, fella.
Lovely to be back with you after a 2-week, it's felt like 2 years, intermission, and gosh, I've really, really needed those gin and tonics that you just referred to, with some of the theatre that really, for the sake of our loyal listeners, I have endured so that they don't have to. It's a sacrifice. I do it, I know. And whereas 2 weeks ago, in fact, the whole of our show was delightfully taken up with a conversation with Trisha Paluccio, aka Dolly Parton. We didn't touch on some of the gems of theatre that I'd seen in the couple of weeks preceding, and I'll come back to that later. But unfortunately, the last 2 weeks of theatre viewing have been, yes, gin and tonics have been needed. Let's start, first of all, with a trip to Finsbury Park, to a very lovely small off-West End theatre there called the Park Theatre. I've followed the park, not got to everything they put on, but really very lovely modern space. It's a bang on top of Finsbury Park tube station. And also what was quite nice to know on my visit there last week was how nicely developed the area around a new entrance to Finsbury Park station has been developed. So there are now an increasing range of places to go and eat and drink before the show that cater for all budgets. And that really was quite a pleasing occasion because as I'm heading to Finsbury Park, I always think, gosh, what am I going to do about eating? In fact, maybe one day we can actually dedicate a whole 30-minute conversation to how do theatre critics eat. However, the food was lovely. Sadly, the play was not. The play was called The Gift, written by a gentleman called Dave Flores. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And it is in fact playing there ambitiously until the end of March. And the essence of this show is about a chappie called Colin, a 40-something bloke, who's received Royal Mail special delivery, a parcel. The box has come from a very, very fancy local patisserie, obviously a fictitious name. I can't remember the name of the fancy patisserie. I'm certainly not going to mention any similarities that one may think to of real life patisseries. Anyway, this chappie receives a very, very fancy box, special delivery, Royal Mail, addressed to him at his home address. He opens it, and to his shock, horror, it contains a human stool. I hope no one's eating their lunch as we're going through this one. So if you are, you may just want to put your cutlery down for a few minutes. I'm not giving any spoil. I'm not sure it could be spoiled anymore. I'm not giving away any spoilers here because the contents of this parcel are described to the audience really within the first 2 or 3 minutes of the show. So we know what the gift is about. And Colin is joined by in the cast his sister and her husband, her partner. And the three of them set about trying to deduce Colin's trying to deduce who may have sent this to him and why. And his sister and her partner really are bouncing off. Whether there are some occasional momentary moments of humor as the dialogue between the three of them plays out. However, there is a phrase not necessarily applying to this play, but it could do, which is that you cannot polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. And that has truly been applied here. Because if this subject matter had been perhaps a 5-minute sketch from the brilliance of Derek and Clive, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore of many, many years ago, who, as we know, took all things crude, vulgar, disgusting, generally unrepeatable, and managed to convert them into drunken moments of conversation that really could prove to be eye-wateringly funny. Well, if Derek and Clive had had a handle on this concept, I suspect there would have been a few minutes of eye-watering humor. But this 2-hour endurance really, as I say, the play's opening moments do make a bit of a splash. See what I did there? But from then on, any semblance of wit has been well and truly flushed away. Also, floating in the bowl of this of this dramatic event are there occasional bits of political comment. There's also a bit of a nod to Colin and Lisa's dysfunctional childhood that bobs along in the narrative. But really, the drama is clogged, for want of a better phrase. It feels like a very, very constipated 2 hours of theatre that frankly left me feeling pooped at the end of it. The acting's good. The script isn't. And in fact, that's a little bit of a recurring theme for quite a bit of the theatre that I've seen over the last 2 weeks. Anyway, yes, as I say, The Gift, it's on at the Park Theatre. It's running until running until the 1st of March. It's a bit of a scatological disaster, but as I glanced around at what my fellow critics were having to say about this play, some of them liked it. Some of them quite liked the human journey that Colin went on of trying to explore, gosh, who he might have upset in life, such to the extent that that person may have sent him such an offensive item. And some critics have said it really is a good study of the human character and a good study of comedy. Well, in my opinion, it's neither of those.
Sounds revolting. It sounds utterly revolting. I have a suggestion, because there's a very slight lag, Jonathan, and I think you've got your settings on blurred background. You might have. If you switch that off, that'll speed things up.
Okay.
But anyway, you please continue. Well, that's one I'm definitely not going to see. I read your review, by the way, when you went to see it, and it was pretty damning, I thought, and I enjoyed reading your review far more than I would have enjoyed sitting through 2 hours of that.
Indeed, I enjoyed writing the review more than I enjoyed seeing the play. Now, let me try, Russ, and see if I can unblur my background. But
because that takes up a lot of it. This is very boring, but it takes up a lot of bandwidth.
It takes up a lot
and that's what's slowing your machine down.
It takes up more of the bandwidth than you? Surely not.
You see, I'm just going to ignore that puerile rudeness, because I happen to know you wrote The Gift under a different name.
Boom.
Am I right or am I right? There we go.
I couldn't possibly comment. Right. Okay. So I currently have, I believe, no virtual background. And Russ, has that helped things?
Completely. You're back to normal.
Sadly, you can see my honey sitting on my the top of my one of my shoulders, left or right. I'm not mirrored. Either
It's
way.
your left shoulder.
Correct. There you go. Fine, good. I'm glad. I'll
And
bear.
indeed, you see, there we go. Even Nigel David says that's much better. There you go.
Fine. Okay.
There we are.
Right. Good. We are moving swiftly on. It's a movement, a motion. Call it what you will.
Can we leave the loo gags now? We'll leave the poo-poo gags behind where they belong in the toilet of history.
To be honest, my tube journey home that night was a challenge, really, as to how many references I could slot into.
Oh, you got a lot into your review.
I managed to drop quite a few in.
Stop it.
It was a strain, but we
Could
got
you
there.
stop now?
Straining on the train.
Stop.
Anyway, moving on. Derek and Clive, we are not. This is for sure.
Comes up to me. He comes up to me. He says hello.
Hello. I said, who are you calling? Yes. Right. Now, let's talk about what we talk about when we talk about Anne Frank, which is a play that opened in October last year. It didn't cross my radar as something that I was hugely keen to review. However, it came back a couple of weeks ago, allegedly by popular demand, to the same theatre, rather lovely newish space, Marylebone Theatre, about a 5-minute walk up the road from Baker Street.
Where is that? I don't mean where's Baker Street. I mean, where's the theatre?
Okay, so can you think of the Rudolf Steiner Institute?
Not really.
Somewhere opposite.
Give me Madam Tussauds or Baker Street Tube Station.
Right. Okay. Come out of Baker Street onto Baker Street. Okay,
Great.
And turn right to head north.
Okay, got it.
Go
towards
past
the park.
Correct. Go past the old Abbey National Building.
Yep.
And then the road bends round to the left, where you have the park on your right, and you have all sorts of lovely buildings on your left.
Yeah.
One of those buildings, 3 to 5 minutes up the road, is, I believe, what was or is the Rudolf Steiner Institute, and in there is a nice old, very, very lovely modern auditorium. No circle, just some raked banks of seats, but very comfortable. Big stage, nice
good
modern setup, and that is the Marylebone Theatre. And the play that, as I say, that has returned there, only on now for one more week. I think it returned for a 3-week or so duration, all in all. I only caught up with it last week, and it runs until just next week, February the 15th. What we talk about when we talk about Anne Frank. And this is a play that involves 2 Jewish couples set in Florida. One of them are a liberal Floridian couple who've lived in Florida forever, and they are joined by the wife's school child days friend from many, many years ago, and her husband. So you have this foursome, and they have set up a very Orthodox Jewish lifestyle in Israel. And they're currently over in Florida having a brief visit to family and friends. And I would say also the narrative is interjected at time to time by the American couple, the liberal American couple's son, who pops up almost to sort of give sort of apparently witty comments on the action that's going on between the adults. Right. This is based on a short story by the writer Nathan Englander, and he's updated it into transferred his short story into a play, updated it to get some nice right-on references to Gaza and the conflict that's going on there. And frankly, I found its Gaza references to be some little more than a lot of trotted out facile liberal cliches. He made some points that frankly were not well argued at all, and it left me as an evening deeply unsatisfied. There were some moments in the second act of the play where they all discover the teenage son's stash of weed. They all get stoned, and they make incredibly inappropriate jokes about the Holocaust. How it struck me as a critic, as a Jewish critic sitting in the audience, how some of that writing passes muster for comedy, I do not know.
What did the audience feel?
Well, a
Because
lot of
I'm
the
already
audience,
pissed off just listening to this.
a lot
But
of the
what did?
audience were, a lot of the audience were laughing.
Okay. Okay.
The theatre for a show that was backed by a popular acclaim, the theatre was barely half full. So I'm not quite sure where that acclaim had come from.
Define the word popular, I guess.
You know, and interestingly, the director of this piece is Patrick Marber, who's a clever guy, very, very clever guy.
Yeah.
And Patrick has also helmed the producers currently running at the Menier, running until the end of March. A very lovely production of the producers, very funny. I reviewed it a while back.
Yes, you did.
And you know, with reference to the producers, Mel Brooks, I really believe, has been the owner. I'll be happy to be proved wrong, but what we talk about when we talk about Anne Frank is not the proof. Who has managed to take the subject of Hitler and the Nazis and to laugh at them, and to make us laugh at that ghastly chapter of history.
And the only other example I can think of, and you might get a bit cross, is Hello, Hello, the television comedy series, which a lot of people said, how could you do that? But it made everybody look stupid. So everyone was universally ridiculous in that sort of parallel universe that they created. Yes, the German, I don't say Nazi, the German occupation of France was horrific. And a lot of people said, how can you make a comedy show out of that? But it was done with great elan and a brilliant ensemble cast, and it worked. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, still makes me laugh.
The cast here in what we talk about when we talk about Anne Frank, it's a good cast. I chose not even to list them by names in my review, and so I did. That was my choice. I was so underwhelmed by the evening. But you've got Joshua Malina. I hope I pronounced his surname correctly. Who has a bit of a following from I think from The West Wing, from bits and pieces in The Big Bang Theory. So he's a bit of an American name.
Okay.
He leads it as the Floridian husband. And as with The Gift, a very, very talented cast, but writing and direction I found appalling. Interestingly, the program notes also included an interview that a magazine had conducted with Patrick Marber Patrick Marber and Nathan Englander about the play when it opened back in October. And the fact that Patrick Marber referenced Jonathan Glazer, if that name means anything to you,
yes,
Russ?
Of course.
Yeah, who directed Zone of Interest and made a fairly disappointing speech at last year's Oscars ceremony.
Just a bit.
You may or may not recall.
Just a tad.
Correct. Marber
he can go and do one.
Yeah, Marber likens him as a bit of a kindred spirit.
Oh, good. Right. Jonathan, I don't want to hear any more about this shit. It just sounds like a load of crap.
And I only, in fact, caught up.
Making me annoyed, and I haven't even seen it.
I only caught up with that review, with that interview, in fact, as I was reading the program notes the following day for that particular interview. It didn't bear, I like to write my review based literally on what I've seen on stage, not with being influenced by what other articles or journalists may have written about.
I mean, the thing about that is you're coming to it raw. What is the experience that you are having sitting there as a punter?
Indeed.
Without being, as you say, influenced by loads of backstory, back chats, interviews and everything else, which could color your view easily.
The punter's view. It was another disappointing night at the theatre, and to complete the hat trick of disappointing nights at the theatre.
The triple of poo.
Indeed. Well, I thought you said we'd left the scatology.
My radio station. I can do what I like. Anyway, go on.
So, I was going to say the third show to reference is thankfully it was only on for 2 nights. At the London Palladium, called Figaro, an original musical. This is
2 nights at the. Hang on, I've got to stop you. Hang on a minute. Did I hear you right? They took over the London Palladium for 2 nights.
Indeed. I mean, it happens. You may recall that show that I spoke about last year with the chappie from Will and Grace. The name of that show escapes me because I'm getting
That's
so
how
old.
good it was.
Correct.
I went to
It was on at
see
Drury
one
Lane.
night.
That show was
Yeah,
on
I
for
went.
Drury Lane. So there is a thing at
Yeah,
sometimes where Americans in particular will
yeah.
showcase. But go on,
Oh,
you
that's
carry on.
right. I remember going to see. Oh God, his name escapes me. And he wrote a thing called Eugenius.
Oh yes.
I lasted until the interval and found a PR chum of mine, Jenny Druitt, that I knew. I said, I ain't going back. I can't. It was enough that I could take the first half. And we just yacked and caught up. It was awful.
But where did you see
Absolutely.
Eugenius? Surely
That was
not
the Palladium. He took
the
over the
Palladium.
Palladium for the night. Yeah.
Right. So, this happens from time to time. And for me, and clearly, the Figaro, it's got nothing to do with any of the classical opera stories, sadly. Because
Is it about a small Japanese car that was made in small numbers that was meant to be 1950s retro? That was a Figaro.
No,
probably not. Okay,
no,
moving on.
It's about the Figaro in this character is played by. I mean, John Robbins plays Figaro, the after whom the show is named. He's a bit of a Svengali-like Phantom of the Opera type chappie who's putting on this traveling show, manages to seduce women very easily. Clearly, John Robbins is a very talented, very handsome man, so that may explain why he can seduce women. Sadly, the narrative of the story doesn't really explain it with any credibility.
Right.
And he's brilliant. I have to say, everyone in the show is brilliant as performers. The real leading performer is an American woman who I don't believe has performed on a London stage before, a woman called Kaylee Capaldi. Her voice was unbelievably beautiful. She's given loads of ballads to sing. The show ranges from ballads to anthems, all of which sound very magnificent on a superficial level, but when you look at the lyrics, it is, as a phrase that I used in a discussion with you many, many months ago, a shimmering platter of bollocks on toast. That was a line never to be forgotten, and I won't say the playwright who dreamed it up as part of their play because I won't embarrass the poor playwright anymore. But the story,
just love it. This is why I love this section when you come on every 2 weeks, because other people try and dance around it and they try and find something, and you go, no, shit. Just don't.
No, listen. Look, the final line of my review for this one was, "Rarely have such awful songs been sung so amazingly." The storyline is shallow. It needs working on. The lyrics are just ghastly.
Well, they're just banal. They're just, moon, spoon,
the rhyming structure. Most of them did rhyme, but they're the sort of rhymes that you'd expect to come out of a kid just leaving primary school, moving on to secondary school.
Yeah, spoon, moon, June.
Really naive. And when seasoned theatre goers or even just average theatre goers are used to lyrics written by the likes of Tim Rice or Jason Robert Brown or Stephen Sondheim, who really know how to play with the English language to either amuse you.
The point I was going to make is that it isn't everyone's first rodeo. So it makes you realize two things: how good those huge shows actually are. It's not smoke and mirrors. They are that good. Yeah, Miss Saigon. Pick any, Sunset Boulevard, Les Miserables. Pick any ones you like. And it also demonstrates it's not easy to do. These guys, you take something like Les Miserables or any of the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Tim Rice stuff, you realize they're works of brilliance. Whether you like them or not, that's your choice. But the actual construction of them is brilliant.
Les Mis in particular, Herbie Kretzmer, who wrote the English translation of the lyrics, genius, absolute genius. The wit, the pathos that he brought into that long.
Do you know one of my greatest moments? This is true. I'm going to interject just for a sec, then we go back to your review. I was at the SODS Songwriters of Distinction Awards. I don't write songs. I was invited by the wonderful Tony Hatch, who was King Sod that year. At the next table, sitting right next to me, is Herbert Kressner. I'm excited. I mean, this to me is like, a lyrical god. Yeah. They start to play She, which everyone knows by Charles Aznavour, but the lyrics were by Herbert Kressner. And he gets up and he sings them. And I thought, I can die happy now. It was just magical because he was standing right next to me, and it was just so beautiful.
Yep.
Anyway, there we go.
Yep. Moments like that are priceless.
They come right into your heart.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
In fact, Russ, I'm going to ask you, think of the TV series Taxi and its theme tune, Angela's theme. Can you remember who wrote that tune? If you can't, I'm not going to go Google it while I'm talking to you.
Right like that. No, I can't remember who wrote it.
Okay, fine. I happened to be at a cabaret night in New York where the guy, shamefully, on my shame, I can't remember his name, was in the audience, got called up, and he played that tune live.
Oh my God.
On the piano. I dissolved. It was just beautiful. I know we hear it on TV for the TV series, played on the flute. In fact,
is it? No, it's the flute. Of course it is.
Yeah. That plays that gorgeous tune. Anyway, listen. Moving on and coming back to Figaro, which was a bit of a disappointment.
So I still haven't. Forgive me, I haven't got the shtick with this. What era is it set in? What's the main thrust of the story?
God, set in really hard to define. Set in sometime in the past. Before the days of telephone communication. I would say late 19th, early 20th century.
Bob James. Was it Bob
James? Bob James.
Thank you, Kimmy.
Thank you, Bob James.
Thank you very much, Kimmy.
There am I at 54 Below in New York years ago. Bob James gets called up to play Angela's theme. It was just unforgettable. Truly.
The only other one I could ever think of was Windmills of Your Mind, which I think is one of the most beautiful songs ever. Harrison. Rex Harrison's son.
Oh, gosh.
And onto this little stage, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Noel Harrison.
Wow, like a circle in a circle.
And he sits down with the guitar and he plays Windmill of Your Mind. I thought I was going to... I mean, it was just so unexpected. I didn't even know he was in the building.
When it hits the sweet spot.
Little tiny theatre it was in. Oh, my God.
Right, let me round off on a positive note.
Please find something nice, because that's three pieces of things we don't want to see.
This show, Figaro, as I say, unfortunately, disappointing lyrics. It needs a lot of work by Ashley Janner, who's written the songs, the book, and the music. So, bless her, she's probably put years of work into the show. It still needs a few more years looking at what they are. However, there are two kids in the show. Their roles that they play are incredibly sugary sweet and Disney-fied, and as characters I found them possibly irritations. However, their performances were out of this world. Two kids, one called Chian Kyan, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Eagle Service, and the young girl Sophia Goodman. They were both knockout brilliant in what they were singing. And young Master Eagle Service, unbelievably, not only was smashing these songs out, not half, not only smashing these songs out for 2 nights only at the Palladium, he is also one of the crew of kids playing Oliver in Oliver. Down the road. So this is going back to the days of rep, when people had to master several roles at a time. Here you have a kid can barely be in his teens, who smashes Oliver however many times a week he's rotated on, and was also smashing his role in Figaro. So this brings me nicely into Oliver, which is the production that opened in Chichester last summer. Come over with the same cast. I would actually say the cast, which were brilliant in Chichester, have matured even more. You've got Simon Lipkin.
Simon Lipkin is Fagin, isn't he?
Simon Lipkin is Fagin, and he's wonderful.
I've heard he's brilliant.
Full of energy.
I've heard fantastic things about this show.
Yeah. And Simon Lipkin, while some people know of his name, a lot of people don't. This is not a show that has star billing in the way that Cameron, a good few years ago, put on Jonathan Pryce as Fagin. There is no one in this show that is a knockout 5-star platinum plated audience draw. It is a cast of just brilliantly talented people singing brilliant songs. You've got Shanae Holmes as Nancy. You've got, and I think I mentioned this when I reviewed the summer production in Chichester, you've got Katie Seacombe as Widow Corney, And of course, Katie is Harry's daughter. Harry was Mr. Bumble in the movie. So there's that great comedy routine, I shall scream, Mr. Bumble. And for those of us old enough to remember the movie, it's just another lovely touch. But to be fair, Katie is brilliant in her own right, full stop. She is, the fact that she's her dad's daughter is just an add-on. Opposite her is the most inspired young actor he's not a child, he's a young man, Oscar Conlon-Murray, another mouthful of a name, but a brilliant guy. He is the funniest musical theatre performer around. He plays Mr. Bumble, and he's fantastic. Everything Oscar has ever been in is brilliant. Everything he does is brilliant. The cast, as I say, this cast of Oliver, it's been imaginatively designed by a chap called Les Brotherston, who works very, very closely with Matthew Bourne, who is the director of this take on Oliver. Les works very closely with Matthew on most of his ballet projects that get put on at Sadler's Wells and then go on tour. The design is clever. It was brilliant at Chichester, and Chichester is a massive, beautiful open space. Where it's on now at the Gielgud is a much more traditional proscenium arch, and the design has been wonderfully retailored to fit the more traditional West End theatre. It's not cheap.
I've heard it's I think the least, well, not the least expensive, but you're looking around about 95 quid, which is why I have not gone to see it.
It's West End prices. I would say, though, without question, in this instance, worth every penny. It really is worth treating yourself to. Every song is a banger, delivered by a fantastic cast. And as I say, this young laddie, Kian Eagle Service, who was on, and in fact, what was nice on press night, we were sat 2 or 3 rows in front of the row full of kids, which were clearly the other casts, the alternate casts of kids, because they have to draw on a pool, I think, of 3 different squads of kids, for obvious, casting reasons and how you can use kids in theatre. And it was just a delight to see this row of kids probably mumbling under their breath, I wish it was me up there on press night. But it was a delight to see these kids on their phones, tucking into their ice creams at the interval, blah blah blah. But really, just fabulous.
And which theatre is that at? So everyone can go and get it.
Gielgud Theatre, Shaftesbury Avenue. Musical theatre does not get much better than this take on Oliver.
I've heard from anyone who's seen it, it is one of, if not the best productions of Oliver in decades, and every single cast member is beyond brilliant.
It's gorgeous. Just go and see it. And on that note, I've outstayed my
welcome.
welcome.
Lionel Bart. That's what we say. Well done, Lionel.
And also, I'm going to lob in a comment for Cameron McIntosh, who bought the rights off Lionel Bart. Lionel, of course, had a very checkered journey. Didn't end his life well financially, and all sorts of reasons. And when Cameron put on the Jonathan Pryce production, by which stage Cameron had already bought the rights to the show from Lionel, and I think Lionel was again penniless, Cameron actually cut Lionel in for a slice of the profits of the Jonathan Pryce production.
So nice of him.
Really, as where there was no contractual obligation to do so.
Jonathan, thank you so much. A potpourri.
A poopery
this week of of stuff. Some to rush to, Oliver, and the rest, well, up to you. Jonathan, until we see you in a couple of weeks' time, God bless. Bye-bye. Fabulous. Jonathan, make mine a gin and tonic. Yeah, everyone says that Oliver's absolutely terrific. Well, talking of things terrific, see what I did there? I'm the king of segues, be honest about it. Stop shaking your head. I can watch you. They can't see. I can see. You know her. You love her. She is the queen of popcorn. She is shall we go to the pick and mix first? She is, of course, Chantal Rickards OBE.
Oh, I like being the queen of queen.
There we go. That's better. Oh, no one wants to see me. No, we want to see you. We don't want to see me.
I like the queen of popcorn.
You are. You're the queen of popcorn. You're the popcorn queen.
Perfect.
Sweet and salted.
I can be very salty. I can be very.
This is what I've heard. It is the talk of Hollywood. The talk of it.
I went to the theatre last night.
Good God. Did you see Jonathan Baz there? Because he's everywhere.
No, because I saw something that I really enjoyed. And poor old Jonathan's had a miserable week of only
He's had a
seeing
terrible
really
time.
So just in case anybody wants a recommendation to go to the theatre, I'm not sure how long it's on for. I think it's only been open for about 24 or 48 hours. But there is a musical version of Ghost at the Wimbledon Theatre. And there were lots of ladies of a certain age. Ghost, exactly, from the film.
My God.
Lots of ladies of a certain age, all having a jolly nice time and enjoying every moment. But we went with a fella too. 3 girls and a fella, and the fella enjoyed it as well. So there you are.
Did he now? He enjoyed being with the 3 girls. I'm not sure. Oh, I couldn't sit through that. I could not sit through that.
You couldn't?
No, not for me. Didn't like the film.
You didn't like the film?
Well, it's got Whoopi Goldberg in it, so obviously I don't like it. She can go do one. Right. What has come across ghastly? What has come across your? Isn't Jonathan brave though? What he said in the upfront bit was we love the Wimbledon. By the way, you went to the Wimbledon Theatre. Jonathan and I are going soon to go and see the Dolly Parton show. I'm his guest.
Excellent.
We're going to meet the leading lady in that. So the 2 of us are going off to Wimbledon to see that. I did Panto there a few times. Fabulous theatre.
Great theatre.
Beautiful.
Lovely theatre.
Lovely theatre. And so, what have you seen?
Well, so I thought I'd start with something fun, because last week I was raving about something called Bump, and I got all the way through the first series, which was a comedy on BBC One, and I really enjoyed it, an Australian comedy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, got to series 2 and started changing my mind. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to find something else to watch, because Bump was actually rather good for the first series, and then it jumped the shark, as they say in America.
Oh, God.
Yeah, jumped the shark. So
do you know where that phrase came from?
Now I do, but I can't remember because I've looked it up in the past.
Well, let me tell you something, how life goes in full circle.
Right.
Everybody used to love the show with Henry Winkler, Happy Days. And there was an episode in Happy Days where the Fonz, Arthur Fonzarelli, is skiing. God knows why. They kind of run out of script ideas. And he's on the skis and there's a shark and he sees it and he goes up a ski ramp of the water ski and he jumps the shark. And everyone said, no, that's not
Henry Winkler jumped the shark.
Now you will remember Richie Cunningham from that show.
I do.
And you will remember that in the show, his mum was Mrs. Cunningham. You remember Mrs. Cunningham?
Yes.
Played by Marion Ross.
Right.
And Marion Ross's son is the guest on my podcast, which I'm recording at 1:45.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jim. He's an old friend. He's a friend of mine from Los Angeles. One of the best impressionists in America. One of the best. And he's been on every American every show. He's been in it, NCIS onwards, and he's my special podcast guest.
Oh, amazing! That'll be really good. And
And here's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing. Marion Ross lived 2 doors away from Shirley Green.
Oh,
Shirley Green. Yes, the Shirley Green.
Our old friend.
The late much Miss Shirley Green in Woodland Hills. Isn't that the weirdest thing ever? Anyway, there we go.
It's a very small world. And who played Richie Cunningham?
The wonderful film. The wonderful film director Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, exactly. And I was going to say, and I have met a couple of times Ron Howard and his daughter Bryce Dallas Howard. So I'm just taking the full circle. Another couple of
life is a complete sphere.
It is.
Right. Anyway, so Bump. Yeah. Hang on. So Kim is saying, I'm on the first series of Bump. Thanks, Chantal. And as Graham says, so Bump has been bumped.
Yeah,
this is rude. Look at this rudeness I have to tolerate.
It's been bumped, but only because it gets a little bit sort of the focus switches more to the kids than the grown-ups. And so it's a little bit like Sex Education on Channel 4. If you enjoy watching stuff that is pretty edgy and clearly written for people slightly younger than us, then go with it. But
leaves me out.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the first series you could watch it at any age, but second series, I was beginning to think I'd be uncomfortable in the room with my kids.
Oh, I've met your kids, so it must be very edgy.
Ah,
It's
they
like they're not shrinking violets.
no, they're not sure. No. But I would be the uncomfortable one. They
Yeah,
would.
no, I know that. It's nothing worse, is it? Oh, God, nothing worse. Oh,
Hey ho. Anyway,
hey
so
ho, indeed.
I look for some more comedy, and this week the BBC have brought out a spin-off from Motherland, which we talked about only a couple of months ago on the show, actually, which started 3 or 4 years ago, and I had completely missed. And the spin-off is something called Amandaland, so it's taking the character of a woman. Called Amanda,
that's what it. Oh, okay.
yeah, who is basically sort of she's the hyacinth bouquet of de nos jours, is what I would say. Those who will remember Hyacinth Bouquet, this wonderful comedy character created for the BBC about 30 years ago, where she was the perfect sort of lower middle class snob, but with aspiration. And Amanda in this series is that woman. She's sort of ghastly, but it's a brilliantly written part. And her mother is played by Joanna Lumley, who has never been more spiky, has never actually, I think, been as clever as she is in this.
Oh, wow.
It was sort of made for her, really. And the mother and daughter clearly don't get on. The daughter is struggling bringing up teenagers in a place called Sohar. Now, Sohar is South Harlesden, according to...
Oh, my God. Oh, that is clever.
Yes,
that is clever. I would have ever thought that is good.
Yeah, northwest London, which near Wormwood Scrubs.
I know exactly where bloody Harlesden is. God, I have to drive there a lot on my way to various funeral crematoriums. God, not being rude, but
the Amanda character is post-divorce and has had to trade down, but still. Talks about being, going shopping at Waitrose, but marvelous put down from her mother that she only lives near a Tesco now. I mean, there are some very, very funny one-liners, and it's really worth watching for the comedy. I hope that they haven't just thrown all the great one-liners at episode 1, because I laughed my socks off when I watched.
They're pushing it like crazy in all the breaks.
Pushing it like crazy.
They're really marketing it hard. And of course, I didn't know what it needed to at all.
No, well, you don't need to have watched Motherland to understand that this is a story basically around, sort of middle-class mums and their partners in northwest London, struggling to bring up kids, struggling with money issues, struggling with divorce and all of those sorts of things. But it is a laugh at every turn. It's beautifully written, and hopefully, if you just want a good laugh for half an hour, just watch it. I think they've only made 6 episodes so far, but I can see that this is likely to run and run and run. Because, when you've got Joanna Lumley and Lucy Punch, who is the actress who plays Amanda.
Why do I know Lucy Punch? I know the name, but I don't know why I know her.
Been in? I don't know her work terribly well. I know her clearly from Motherland, but I don't know what she's done before that. I can look it up and let you know.
I was on my best behavior. I had to entertain Joanna Lumley once. You're very used to it, but I had to have be her dinner companion at this event. And I was exceptionally polite.
Were you? Okay.
Scared the crap out of me.
Well, she's a very proper lady.
Sure, I should say. Right. Yes. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. I was really saw her out to her car. Yeah, that was it. Breathe a sigh of relief.
And did you see that Stanley Tucci is having dinner with the King tonight? I thought that was
what?
Yes, I read that in the press yesterday. I'm not quite sure why.
Is he cooking?
No, he's not cooking, but I think he's gone to talk about Italy because the King and the Queen are off to Italy. So he's probably gone to give them a few tips on how to eat pizza or something. I'm not entirely sure.
That's it. Well, they're probably just having Dominoes or something. Just the bike, the little moped would turn up at Buckingham Palace.
Exactly.
I had the line of the week this week, Mrs. Showbiz. So every Saturday, as you know, I meet up with my 2 chums.
Cigar and coffee.
And we have a cigar and a coffee every Saturday. My friend Colin.
Yes.
who's a well-known film producer, has never introduced me to anybody of any note, right? Ever.
Okay.
I'm beginning to see a pattern. I get a message 2 days ago. Guess who I'm with? I went, I don't know, thinking he's going to say Commie Gary. We call him Commie Gary because he's slightly to the left of Stalin if he ever joins us, which is rare. Commie Gary, right?
Okay.
He says, oh, I'm with Bob De Niro. I went, I'm sorry, what? You're with Robert De Niro? Yeah.
And he calls him Bob.
Oh, no. Bob wants to be called Bob. Call me Bob.
No, well, yeah, I've told you that story about I was told to call him Mr. De Niro. And I said, I'm going to call Al Pacino Al because I know Al and he's sitting next to him. Are you really sure you want me to call Robert Mr. De Niro? And the PR said, you call him Mr. De Niro.
Wow. Anyway, the scoop was that Bob, Robert De Niro to you and me, Mr. De Niro to you, apparently, was over in London promoting his new TV show.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got a new TV show on.
Okay.
I don't know, God knows. And so I said, well, how was it, Robert De Niro, for God's sake? He says, well, he's getting on a bit.
Oh, we are all getting on a bit.
Well, not you. You're immortal. I look in the mirror and go, hello, Dad. Good to see you back. Jesus. Yeah, well, I was serious. I said to him, how come I meet no one but you're with De Niro? Bloody cheek.
And he didn't invite you over.
No, he did not.
No. Except you won't.
Because I'm not blonde, 6 foot tall, and 22.
Listen, I know you wouldn't like his politics.
I hate his politics.
Well, there you are then.
I did say to him, did you wear a MAGA hat?
Oh dear.
He's gone raving mad, De Niro. But anyway, there we are.
Oh,
I loved his past work. I can't forget his past work. His past work was just stunning, and his current work is pretty terrible. Anywho, there we are. What else have you seen?
Well, I've seen a program. I wasn't sure if it was real life or it's actually a program about a mad president. Dream into that what you will. We better not take that conversation any further because we'll fall out.
Won't. No, we won't. We'll be quiet. I'll be quiet.
Anyway, you are going to have to spend, I think, the sum total of £4.99 for a month on Disney Plus so that you can get something called Paradise. And the episode 1 is definitely worth £4.99. And if you're good, you'll get the rest of the programs as well if you can watch them fast enough. Paradise is, honestly, stick with it because particularly you, because I know what type of programs you like, you will like this because there's an incredible twist at the end of episode 1.
Ooh, I like that.
Will absolutely grab you. I didn't see it coming at all, but you will go, okay, now I'm hooked. And Paradise is, in fact, it's the headline actor is Sterling K. Brown, who has been one of Hollywood's finest African-American actors for at least 10 years. He's an incredibly sophisticated actor. He's played lots of things from comedies all the way through to really quite serious stuff, but I really like his work. Anyway, he is the close protection secret agent for the president.
Oh,
and it starts out at the president's mansion in what is probably today-ish, and then there are flashbacks to when he used to be president, so not in his post-presidential years. And the Sterling K. Brown character, who is his copper, his close protection guy, we learn very quickly has saved the president, saved his life at some stage, but there's obviously some real history between them other than the fact he saved his life. And they don't get along, even though he is still in the role of being his Secret Service agent. And it begins to unravel incredibly quickly. We see that this presidential character he's a drinker, he's a smoker, he blasphemes.
I like him.
Yeah, well, maybe he lives on his own. He's obviously a very, very troubled man. And
I really like him.
But we don't know where all of this stuff is coming from. And I cannot even try and let you further into the story, other than the fact that very quickly at the beginning of the program, somebody central to it is found dead.
Oh,
okay. And then it takes a complete right-hand turn towards the end of episode 1 and becomes an entirely different program and a different story. But I can't tell you any more than that because I will utterly ruin it.
You blonde tease.
No, if I let you in on it, it's
No, you ruin it. You ruin
right,
it.
and it needs to be
Did the theme tune go?
No, well, I was just very good. No, I was furious I didn't see it coming.
Oh, well, yeah, because you are the queen of script. I mean, like, how much stuff have you seen? Like a gazillion scripts.
And I can normally see these things at 100,
like a mile off. They're telegraphed ahead. You go, oh, it drives me crazy because I sit there and I think, I just want to be entertained. I don't want to sit there with a critical head on, writing the next book and going, oh, gee, you just telegraphed it, for God's sake. You know, we've been on 7 minutes. So there we go. Yeah. I love all that.
No, you will really like this, and you are going to have to watch it and spend £4.99 on Disney Plus.
Okay.
And you can cancel Disney Plus at any time. You don't get.
I'll forget.
Yes.
Well, like I did with my Experian. Do you know Experian? Are you familiar with that? You know, the credit rating thing?
I got sucked into that for about 2 years before I
realized. Yeah, it's 14 a month. I thought it was a couple of quid. I thought, okay, let's see my credit rating. 14 quid, sod off. Cancelled it straight away. No. That was probably killing my credit rating, paying 14 quid a month for that. It's
right.
Crazy.
Well, Paradise on Disney Plus is worth the money. Okay.
Good. I got a question for you.
Yes.
Is Disney's, with that ghastly woman, the Snow White, is it ever going to come out? Ever? We're going to live long enough.
Ghastly woman Snow White. We're talking Wicked. No.
No. The actual new live version of Snow White with that troublesome girl who's been driving everybody mad.
Don't know. I will look it up. I haven't read about
fabulous.
it.
It's a fabulous background story if you like trouble in Hollywood. Oh,
I don't think I've had any press releases on it, so it hasn't.
No, I don't know if it's ever going to see light of day.
Okay, well,
they keep reshooting. Oh, let's try and get this right. Let's reshoot it again.
It sounds bad.
She was the lead in the remake, which no one asked for, of West Side Story, which lost millions.
Oh, yeah, she's a good actress. In fact, didn't she get the Oscar for Best Actress?
Did she? I don't know.
Of the year of West Side Story.
Gone to her head, and she's obnoxious.
Oh, no.
So then she went around all the things saying, oh, the old Disney was terrible. Oh, it was the patriarchy. Oh, it was this. And then they realized you're trashing one of the most beloved films of all time from 1947 or what it was. So then the PR people had to wheel her out again. No, I loved the old film. The old film was too late. You've opened your gob. Too late. Anyway,
dear. Yeah, a lot of people are changing their minds very quickly at the moment.
I wonder why. And also, I have to ask you, oh, Queen of Hollywood.
Indeed,
right?
Tell me.
What's going to happen with Blake Lively?
Oh, now that is a good story. And I went round, I cannot say to whom, I went round for a dinner party earlier on in the week and got all the inside skinny.
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything.
No,
because I'll end up in court along with everybody else.
It's a terrific a terrific tale. Just when you thought Amber Heard was dead, when she comes back as Blake Lively. Fantastic. She's the Amber Heard of 2025.
I know. But can I just say that for those who don't know what we're talking about, this story of an actor called Justin and an actress called Blake, who happens to be married to Ryan Reynolds. This is a story none of us need to know, nor have any interest in. But it is
now.
Many single column centimeters for complete and utter trashy tittle tattle.
Yeah.
And I just don't fill your heads with it, basically.
Too late. Too late for me, obviously.
Yes. No, grow up. Move on.
The day I grow up is the day I die. I'm never going to grow up. That's the whole point.
Something better to think about or read about. You've got a really clever brain.
It is, the thing about it is, it reveals, it pulls back the curtain of the real machinations of Hollywood. When you take it away from the talk shows and the Jimmy Kimmels and the Jimmy Fallons, and
I know,
when
that's
they're
why I
all on
can't watch any of those shows.
I can't watch those shows. They're absolutely not. They make me puke. Stephen Colbert, who I used to, I can't watch that. Any of them, they're all absolutely unwatchable, and particularly now because they don't know what to do. They're stuffed. All the way from Australia. Neighbours, here's your old friend Michelle Vaughan. Hi,
On her way
Chantal,
to bed.
you're looking good.
Oh,
There
bless.
we go. There we
On her way to bed. Right, I'm going to take you off to. I'm going to give you a maths lesson now.
Oh, God.
There is brand new British drama, really good British drama. Certainly started very well, called Prime Target, which is on Apple. So if you haven't got Apple, you can get a 7-day free trial, Mr. Kane.
You're
So-
like an infomercial today. And get a 7-day trial. I'm Chantal Rickards. You know me from such films as.
Well, there are some programs that I just think that are being seen all around the world,
Yeah.
and and we have to think about all our lovely listeners and viewers all over the world.
Yes, we
So
do,
they
especially
can get this
America. Hello,
program too,
America.
if they're on the streamers. So occasionally I mention stuff that's on the streamers, but Prime Target is a new thriller that is, it is British. It feels British. One of the characters is that rather fantastic actress who was in Borgen, if you remember the Danish political drama Borgen, and she plays the mum in this. But actually, there's a very nice actor called Leo Woodall who plays a young, brilliant mathematician who is studying at Cambridge and gets involved in something that is either espionage or it's a Da Vinci Code type of thing. It's reminded me of so many different types of mystery and story and something that's taking you down various different paths. But there's something about governments in it. There is something about history and underground libraries from the 9th century that are suddenly discovered in Iran. And it's something to do with mathematics. Lots of different threads are being pulled.
Ooh. Oh, I like all that.
The professor of this very nice young man, Leo Woodall, who plays this character called Edward Brooks, is David Morrissey. You think, okay.
Oh, we like him. We like him.
He's married to the lovely Danish actress who I just mentioned, called Sidsi. And David Morrissey is not what he seems.
The bastard.
There is clearly a backstory about another student who also uncovered something in mathematics. So it's a bit Da Vinci Code and symbols and numbers and all of that stuff going on. There are lots of different strands. There's the National Security Agency is involved in. Anyway, the first 2 episodes absolutely dragged me in. It's been very, very highly regarded by those in the know, and also audiences are really enjoying it. So take a look and see what you think. That's if you pick up your 7-day free trial on Apple TV. Because
7-day free trial on Apple TV. I am available, by the way, for voiceovers. So, what's it called again?
And it's called Prime Target because the young man
Prime.
is into
Should be on Prime. Should be on Amazon Prime.
Prime
It should be
numbers. I know, but they probably took it to Prime first. But it's all about prime numbers. Can you name a prime?
The great thing about Da Vinci Code and Dan Doodad.
Dan Brown.
Dan Brown. It sold by the shed load. It was incredibly huge. They were terrible rubbish films. But you read them and you're caught up with them and you realize when you kind of put a wet towel around your head and start to think about it, they're complete nonsense. They're absolute nonsense. But they're so engagingly, page-turningly clever, you know. Yeah. They're so clever, and they're nonsense. They don't stand up to any scrutiny whatsoever.
No, except for the fact there is probably a reason that lots of people go to university and study maths. What on earth are they doing? I mean, you know.
Oh, this is a good joke. This is the first good joke that he's done today. This is a good joke.
Okay,
It's
tell
a
me.
maths thing. Are there any non-binary people? That is a good, Graham, that is a very good joke.
Very good.
Well done. We have waited 59 minutes, 44 seconds for a good one from Graham back.
Excellent.
He
We like
kills it
that.
at the end. Kills it.
Kills
Crushes
it.
it.
Anyway,
Oh,
and maybe
I love
he's a scientist. Maybe he can tell us what all of those are. And he's good with numbers anyway. He can tell us
Graham,
what.
well, he is, because I think he's an account. No, yes, he is. He's actually a horribly clever fellow.
Well, he can tell us why people study maths. There must be a reason why people study maths. What are they still studying?
Because it's the center of everything. Maths is the nucleus of everything in the universe.
Well,
Everything is
your answer.
everything is mathematical. All of nature is mathematical.
Okay, so you've asked the question as to
the universe. It's all maths.
Well, that's why
All
the narrative spine of this drama.
But he can't. He's a chartered surveyor, so if you've got a bit of rising damp in your extension, he's the man to get. I don't know. I'm making that bit up. I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Right, Chantal, as ever, marvelous to see you. Always
Great
is.
to see you.
Lovely
Movies
to
next
see.
week. We need to go to the movies next week.
Next week. Okay. What is there something on that I want to see?
Yeah, I've got some tickets. I'll send you a note.
Okay. Thank you very much. And on that note of mystery, I wonder what it'll be. As long as it doesn't star that woman in the new remake of Snow White, because I'm not going to see that, because I'd rather shoot myself. Right. Well, it's been another week. It's been a good week. It's been a full week. That's it. I will be back on Monday. We are packed. We've got not one, but two guests vying for attention with me and Neil Long on Monday. Wednesday, God only knows. And then we'll be back on Friday if Phil Dave can ever get away from Rupert Murdoch. We don't know. It's a mystery. Who the heck knows? Maybe he gives him a cravat as a gift. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend. I will be spending most of the time slapping my friend Colin for not inviting me to see Robert De Niro. That's most of Saturday taken up. Until we meet again, I'm Russ Kane. Try and stay out of trouble.